Hello dear students, welcome back to B2 level. You will continue B2 level with me as well. Let's start with reviewing what we have learned on B1 level, and we will go in way more depth than B1. We will actually study pretty much the same subjects, but we will see them more in detail. We are going to start with present simple. This is our first topic for B2 level. I'm sure that you have studied and acknowledged this topic, but we will review briefly before we jump into the harder topics. Present simple, where do we use it? First of all, we have said that we use present simple talking about routines. Events that happens regularly. Or we said that acknowledgements that can be proven. So I can say information, general information. Or I can use present simple with state verbs. We have also studied this one, but we will go in more depth while we are reviewing these topics and uses of present simple. Routines, events that happen regularly, general information that can be proven. Or we said state verbs. One more thing, general likings, or we can describe it as verbs that express feelings. This is where we use present simple, or it can be used with timetables. For example, let's say train, timetable, plane, bus. This is where we use present simple. Let's remind ourselves the grammatic structure of our sentence. We are starting with subject and then verb 1, which is bare infinitive of our verb, form of our verb. And then object, place, time, etc. But we have one important key point that we should not forget is with he, she, it subject pronouns, we use verb 1 and s. We add s at the end of our verb. And then again, object. But this is only applies for he, she, it, not for I, you, we, they. When I, you, we, they is the subject of the sentence, we use bare form of verb and then object. So let's start giving examples. She likes football. In this sentence, we're talking about general likings. That's why we used present simple as the tense of the sentence. And since my subject of the sentence is she, I added s at the end of the verb. We go picnic every Saturday. In this one, in this example, we're talking about something that happens regularly, on a regular basis. something that happens frequently. And the frequency here is every Saturday. And that's why we use present simple. I used bare infinitive form of our verb because the subject of the sentence is we. We will also be talking about the time expressions that we use in present simple, but let's just give examples for now. Water boils at 100 degrees Celsius. This is a knowledge that can be proven. This is a general information. That's why we use present simple. And subject of the sentence refers to it. That's why we added s at the end of our verb. I understand you. This is a pretty basic example, but understand is a state verb, and that's why we use it in present simple. By the way, when we're talking about state verbs, it doesn't only apply for present continuous. It applies for all continuous / progressive tenses. It can be past continuous. It can be present perfect progressive or past perfect progressive. We can only use state verbs with simple tenses, with short action tenses. This is a state verb. That's why I used present simple. So let's start writing some state verbs. We have understand, know, recognize, notice, remember, forget, have. But we have some exceptions, and we will talk about them later. I will mark them. This one, think. Also, this one is an exception. And all the other verbs that express feelings. Love, hate, dislike, enjoy, like, can't stand, dislike, I said that. Okay, these are the most common state verbs that we use. And we cannot use these verbs in any progressive. We can only use them with, for example, present simple, past simple, present perfect simple, past perfect simple, future simple. But we cannot use these verbs in a progressive tense. I said that we have an exception with have and think. When have means owning something. For example, I have 2 sisters. I own 2 sisters. You cannot use this one in progressive. But if it's a phrasal verb, if it's in a phrasal form, for example, have a picnic, have shower, have bath, have breakfast, have lunch, have dinner. When we use it like this, it loses its meaning of owning something. So we can use these one with progressive tenses. For example, I can say, I am having breakfast. This is correct, but I cannot say, I am having 2 sisters. This is wrong. It depends on the meaning. We have to examine the meaning first and then decide on which tense or which structure we are going to choose. And it's also same with think, our verb think, because it can mean 2 things. Think. First one is consider, and the other one is our opinions, our general opinions. So it has 2 meanings that we can use. If it means considering something, yes, we can do present progressive. But if it means, if we're describing our general opinions, our thoughts about something, we cannot use present progressive. Let's give an example. She is thinking accepting that job. In here, this is correct because in this example, it refers to consider. And when it's in the meaning as consider, we can use it. But let me give another example. She doesn't believe. She doesn't, think ghosts are real. This is her general opinion. That's why I cannot use a continuous tense here. Okay, let's go back to our sentence structure. When we're talking about negative sentences, we use don'ts and doesn't. And then verb 1. You know which subjects gets which, but we're reviewing, so it's okay to write again. And I don't add another S at the end of the verb because the S is already on doesn't. For example, I don't like going out. But if my subject would be she, I would say she doesn't like going out. But the main verb doesn't get anything. Let's continue with question form. Do you enjoy having coffee in the morning? I put do and does in the beginning of the sentence, and then our proper subject, and then verb 1. Do you enjoy having coffee in the morning? I can answer in 2 ways. Yes, I do. Or if I want to give a long answer, yes, I enjoy having coffee in the morning. If I want to say no, no, I don't, or no, I don't enjoy drinking coffee in the morning. So, let's keep going with our time expressions that we use with present simple. Time expressions that express frequency are always, generally, usually, sometimes, never, rarely, occasionally, and normally, hardly ever. These are the ones that expresses frequency. But we also have normal time phrases that is at the beginning of the at the end of the sentence. For example, every day, every morning, every night, every week, every weekend, every Saturday, every month. You can use this with any time expression you want. We also have a similar one, for example, on Fridays, on weekends, on Tuesdays. These mean almost the same thing, and both of them gets at the end of the sentence. Let's give example using those time expressions. I never eat fish. I started with a frequency time expression. I used never. The placement of the frequency time expressions is important. It gets right after the subject if the structure of the sentence is positive. What I mean by structure is that this sentence, the meaning of it is negative, but the structure is positive because there is no don't, there is no not. So I can understand, I can learn from this example that when I use never, I don't use a negative verb, because never on its own expresses negativity. So let's continue. She always goes fishing. This is a positive sentence, both in structure and meaning. So it is the time expression that expresses frequency comes right after the subject. And it comes right before our verb, but it doesn't affect the verb structure, as you can see. We don't drink tea often. You may ask now that we used to use these time expressions right after the subjects. What happened? The thing is, here, I use don't. The structure and the meaning of this sentence is negative. So I used often at the end of the sentence. Sometimes it can differ. Sometimes you can see it here, or I could say we don't often drink tea. They are both correct. You can see them both in sentences, in daily language and speaking. They are both correct. We don't often drink tea, or we don't drink tea often. They are both correct. She doesn't call us very often. Or I can add something that defines the time expression. Yes, she calls us, but not that much. The meaning of the sentence is, yes, she calls us, but not that much. / often. If I didn't say this, if there wasn't a very in the sentence, it would mean she doesn't call us often. She calls us, yes, she calls us, but rarely. This is the difference. Or I can ask someone, how often do they do something? For example, how often do you go to cinema? My WH question is how often? I can say, I go to cinema every week. Or if I wanted to give a negative answer, I never go to cinema. Or I could say, I don't go to cinema. Or a third option could be maybe, I occasionally go to cinema. It depends on your answer. There is so many options, but it only has one true answer according to the person who responds. How often does Ayşe cook? Again, I'm asking the frequency. My main question is frequency. Let's say she cooks every other day. Every other day means this one, let's say Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Every other day means, for example, she did on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday. We skip one day, and it makes, it's the same in Turkish. She cooks every other day, or she never cooks. She sometimes cooks. There are a lot of options that you can answer from. Now, let's remind ourselves the use of present progressive. Present progressive is used in many uses. It can mean different things. First is events, actions that is happening now. Second one is when we're talking about temporary situations. Third is when we are planning something to the close future. And the last one is complaints. These are the 4 areas that we used: present, progressive, / continuous. Progressive and continuous mean the same thing. What was our sentence structure? After our subjects, the be form, the correct be form, according to the time and the subject comes, and then verb ing. This is the affirmative sentence. For example, let me do it like this. I, you, we, they, he, she, and it. After I, we use am. You, we, they gets are. He, she, it gets is. And then all of them get verb ing. What about the negative negative sentence form of present progressive? After subjects, we use be not, and again, verb ing. After I, we use am not. We cannot shorten am not. You, we, they, aren't. He, she, it, isn't. We can shorten is not and are not as isn't, aren't. And what about the question form? In question form, we put be in the beginning of the sentence, then subject and verb ing. We also have, by the way, I want to also teach you this one and then continue with present progressive. If we are going to use a WH question in the question sentence, in any tense, it doesn't matter. For example, what, when, why, who, how, whose, where, what, when, why, who, how, whose, where, whom. We put it in the beginning of the normal question sentence structure. In every tense, we have this: auxiliary verb, subject, and then the correct form of verb. It depends on the tense. Before auxiliary verb, we put WH question pronoun. Okay, let's continue with here. For example, who are you talking to? I can answer as I am talking to my friend. I put WH question in the beginning and then my auxiliary verb according to this tense, which is be, and then subject, correct verb form, and that's it. How long are you staying in London? We're talking about a temporary situation. So let me answer. I am staying in London for 3 weeks. So this is a temporary situation, not a permanent situation, and that's why we use present progressive. You are always making a mess in your room. This is a complaint sentence. That's why we use present progressive. But there's one thing, a key point. We use always, only and only in present simple. But you can see in this example that we use it with present progressive. Because, yes, it is correct and it can be, but with only complaints. For example, she is never cleaning the home or our home. This is again a complaint. This is something, this is a time expression that we only use in present simple, but in this case, we're complaining about something. That's why it can be used here. Don't confuse it. When are you going Istanbul? This is something that we talked about, planned future. And I used present progressive. I am leaving for Istanbul tomorrow night. This is an example that shows you how we use planned future using present progressive. Why are you crying? This is an action that is happening now. WH question, be form, auxiliary verb, subject, and verb ing. Because I failed my exam. I can answer like this. Or because I am, let's say, waiting for an important email. Okay, and we have also talked about the sentence structure, how we use normal sentences with verb or with be. They differ, and sometimes most students get confused when we're talking about present progressive and then sentence structure with be. When we are using be is the verb of the sentence. But only be. For example, I am hungry. It refers to now, but she is beautiful. It refers to a general skill, a general thing. So that's why it refers to present simple. She is home now. It refers to now. We aren't at school also now. She isn't, let's say, a student. It is something general. That's why it refers to present simple. One more example for this one. She is blonde. This is also a general information and refers to present simple. Okay, let's review what we have learned so far. Okay, present simple. We have started with present simple. We're talking about routines or something happens regularly, on a regular basis. General information, something that can be proven and happens all the time. State verbs, we have talked about it later in detail. General likings, verbs that express feelings. Or timetables, for example, a train's timetable, a plane's or buses. Our sentence structure in present simple is after subject we use verb on its bare form. Verb 1 and then object, place, time, etc. He, she, it. After he, she, it, when we're using verb, it gets s. In IUV day, it's the same. It's the bare form of our verb. She likes football. It refers to general likings. That's why we use present simple. We go picnic every Saturday. It's something that happens regularly, on a regular basis. Water boils at 100 degrees Celsius. It is something that can be proven. It is a general knowledge. And we have talked about state verbs. State verbs are the most common ones: understand, know, recognize, notice, remember, forget, have and think. They have exceptions: love, hate, dislike, enjoy, like. All of the verbs that express feelings. I understand you. Even if it should mean present progressive, we're not going to use the present progressive structure. We have talked about have and think. They have some exceptions. When have means owning something, we cannot use progressive. But if it's like a phrasal verb, like have a bath, have a picnic, shower, breakfast, lunch, dinner, have a snack, have a coffee. In these examples, have doesn't mean own. That's why we can use with progressive, but we cannot say such thing as I'm having two sisters. No, because it means owning. And also, when it comes to think, we have two options. Consider, it can both mean consider or expressing an opinion, a general opinion. When it means considering something, we can use present progressive. She's thinking accepting that job. You can also put consider here. She's considering accepting that job. It is correct. But we cannot say she isn't thinking go surreal, because it is a general opinion about something. Then we have talked about the negative sentence structure. IUV day, we use do nots, which we can shorten as don'ts. And after he, she, it, we can use does not, which we can shorten as doesn't. And after that, we use again bare form of our verb. I don't like going out. She doesn't like going out. In the question form, we put do and does in the beginning of the sentence. And after that, we put our correct subject. And after any subject or any do-das, we use verb bare infinitive. Do you enjoy having coffee in the morning? We have talked about time expressions, the ones that express frequency and the ones that we put at the end of the sentence. The frequency ones, always, generally, usually, sometimes, never, rarely, occasionally, normally, and hardly ever, we put them, if it's a positive sentence structurally, we put them after the subject. And these ones almost mean the same thing, and we put them at the end of the sentence. I never eat fish. The placement of the frequency time expressions is important. In a sentence, structure of the sentence is positive if we put it after the subjects. I never eat fish, and I don't add any negative verb when I'm using never, because never on its own expresses negativity. She always goes fishing. This is also both in meaning and structure-wise a positive sentence, affirmative sentence. That's why it gets right after the subject. We don't drink tea often. When we're using time expression that expresses frequency, it can differ, the placement can differ, because we have negative verbs. I can put it right after the negative auxiliary verb, or I can put it at the end of the sentence. Both of them is correct. She doesn't call us very often. Or I can define the frequency time expression. When I put this, it means yes, she calls us, but she doesn't call us that much. But if I didn't put this, she doesn't call us often, it means she rarely calls us. How often do you go to cinema? We have talked about WH questions and where to put them in the sentence. The tense doesn't matter. Before the auxiliary verb, we put our WH question pronoun. How often do you go to cinema? Now, our main question in this sentence is the frequency. How often do you do that thing, that activity? I go to cinema every week. I can answer like this. I can give a negative answer using never, but the structure is positive. Or I can say I occasionally go to cinema. It's up to you. How often does Ayşe cook? She cooks every other day. Again, I'm asking the frequency. Every other day means, let me show it again. This is Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I wrote Sunday. For example, she cooked on Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. Every other day. And then we have talked about present progressive events that are happening now. Or we have talked about temporary situations for a very short period of time, or planned close future. Or when we're talking about complaints, when we're complaining about something. After subjects, we use be form. It depends on the subject. It should be am, are, or is. Our negative sentence structure, after subjects, we put be not. Am not, are not, or is not. Or I can shorten them and say aren't, isn't, but I cannot shorten am not. And right after, we're using verb ing again. And in the question form, we put be in the beginning. then subject and verb ing. If I'm talking about WH question pronoun, I put it in the beginning of the sentence, and right after that I use the auxiliary verb, which fits the tense. I'm talking to my friend. How long are you staying in London? I can understand from the question is that it means a temporary situation, and I am answering with the same tense that is used in the question. I'm staying in London for 2 weeks. You're always making a mess in your room. Then we have gave example for complaints. And when we're complaining about something using present progressive, I can use those frequency time expressions that we have studied in present simple, such as always, such as never. She's never cleaning our home. This may shock you, or it can come as a surprise, but the only use of this time frequency expressions other than present simple is when we're complaining about something using present progressive. When are you going to Istanbul? And in here I'm talking about a planned feature. I am leaving for Istanbul tomorrow night. I have used the present progressive structure, but the meaning refers to the future. Why are you crying? An action that is taking place right now. And we have talked about be and how it can mean both present progressive and present simple. It's up to the sentence. I am hungry. It means I am hungry now. She is beautiful. It is something that is general, so it refers to present simple. She is home now. It's obviously happening right now. We aren't at school again now. She isn't a student, a general information. She's blonde. This is also a general information. Okay, thank you guys for tuning in today's lesson. This was our first lesson, and I hope you understood and enjoyed it. See you on our next lesson. Take care of yourselves.